It's late. The conversation ended hours ago, but your brain is still in there, editing it. Why did I say that? Did they take it the wrong way? Why do they respond like that and then go quiet? You replay the same 10 seconds again and again. You're not learning anything new. Nothing's being discovered, but your brain absolutely refuses to close the file. Here's the uncomfortable part. Your brain isn't doing this because it enjoys the torture. It genuinely believes the thinking is protecting you. And once you understand what your brain is actually trying to accomplish, the loop becomes a lot easier to break. Overthinking feels intelligent. That's what makes it so hard to recognize. You're not wasting time, you're analyzing, you're preparing, you're reviewing what happened and predicting what might. That feels responsible, almost productive. But at some point, something quiet happens. Thinking stops trying to solve the problem and starts trying to eliminate uncertainty instead. Those are not the same job. Think of a GPS that keeps recalculating directions even though the car hasn't moved. The system is fully functional, it's processing, it's working. It's just no longer helping anyone get anywhere. That's the difference between productive thinking and overthinking. Productive thinking moves toward a decision. Overthinking circles the same question because the question doesn't have a clean answer and the brain hasn't accepted that yet. To actually stop the loop, you need to understand why the brain keeps reopening it in the first place. There are 4 reasons, and they build on each other. The brain confuses prediction with protection. The brain doesn't handle uncertainty well, especially when something feels important. When something you care about is unresolved, your brain often starts scanning for what could go wrong, and its instinct is to close that gap as fast as possible. So someone hasn't replied to your message. You don't know why. And instead of sitting with, "I don't know," the brain starts generating options. They're upset. I said something wrong. They're losing interest. Something happened to them. Maybe I'm overreacting. No, maybe I'm not. Notice what's happening. In that state, the brain will often reach for a frightening explanation rather than sit with no explanation at all. A bad answer can feel less unsettling than an open question. And this is where overthinking disguises itself as control. If I can predict every possible outcome, nothing can blindside me. It feels like preparation. It feels like being careful. But imagining more possibilities doesn't actually create more control over a situation. It just creates more things to worry about. The brain is confusing prediction with protection. Seeing the danger coming doesn't stop it from arriving. But the brain hasn't quite accepted that logic yet because the scanning feels like doing something. Unfinished things don't stay quiet. There's another force keeping the loop alive, and it has nothing to do with danger. It's incompleteness. The human mind has a strong pull toward unresolved things, an unanswered message, an awkward conversation that ended without closure, a decision you've been avoiding, something embarrassing that happened 3 years ago that still surfaces randomly at 2 a.m. Psychologists have observed that unfinished tasks tend to occupy mental space more persistently than completed ones. The mind keeps returning to them, almost like a flag that's been left up until the task gets done. The problem is your brain treats all open loops the same way. It doesn't distinguish between "I haven't replied to this email" and "I can't control whether this person forgives me." Both get flagged. Both stay open. Both keep returning. But not every open loop has a clean action attached to it. Some loops need a decision. Some loops need you to do something. And some loops need you to accept that there is currently nothing to do. And that acceptance is the only available move. A useful question to ask when a loop keeps returning: is there something I can actually do about this right now? If yes, do it. Send the message you've been drafting. Make the appointment you've been putting off. Write the first sentence of the thing you've been avoiding. Pick the option and commit to it. If an action exists, the answer is always to reduce thinking and take it. The loop exists partly because the door hasn't been walked through yet. Overthinking is sometimes just delayed deciding. Here's where it gets harder to admit. Imagine someone making a big decision. They research it carefully. They compare options. They ask people they trust. They imagine the different outcomes. That's useful. That's necessary. But then they research again, compare again, ask again, change their mind, research a third time, start from the beginning. At some point, they crossed a line and they didn't notice it. They stopped gathering information. They started delaying the discomfort of choosing. Because a decision closes possibilities, and closing possibilities means accepting that you could be wrong. The thinking brain doesn't want to be wrong. so it keeps the question open because an open question can't be a mistake yet. This is the quieter relationship between overthinking and avoidance. The research isn't producing new answers. The new answers wouldn't help anyway. What's actually needed is the willingness to commit to an imperfect option and deal with what comes after. Confidence in decisions rarely comes before making them. It usually builds from the experience of making choices, living with outcomes, and discovering you can handle what you didn't predict. You don't always need another answer. Sometimes you just need the willingness to choose without one. You're trying to think your way through a feeling. This is the one most people miss entirely. Sometimes the loop isn't really an intellectual problem. It's an emotional one wearing intellectual clothes. Replaying an embarrassing conversation isn't really about figuring out what you should have said. It's an attempt to escape the feeling of embarrassment. Analyzing a relationship in circles isn't really about understanding the other person. It's an attempt to avoid sitting with the discomfort of uncertainty and possible rejection. Running through every possible future scenario isn't really planning. It's an attempt to outthink fear. But feelings don't work like equations. You cannot reason your way out of an emotion by thinking about it hard enough. But there's a distinction worth paying attention to. Thinking about a feeling is different from actually experiencing it. Someone can spend 3 hours analyzing why they feel anxious, reviewing the situation, constructing explanations, running mental simulations, without ever spending 30 seconds simply noticing, "My chest feels tight. I'm scared this isn't going to work out." That's it. That's the thing they're running from. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, when you actually let yourself feel it, name it, locate it somewhere in your body, and acknowledge it exists, the loop can start losing some of its grip. Not because the problem is solved, but because the brain was circling the feeling, not the situation. Naming it doesn't make it disappear. It just stops giving the loop quite so much fuel. So, what do you actually do? Not 15 steps, just 3, and they work in sequence. First, name the loop. The moment you notice you're turning the same thought over again, ask yourself one question. Am I solving something or am I repeating something? That question creates distance. It shifts you from being inside the thought to observing it. And from the outside, you can see it clearly. This is a loop. It has been a loop for a while now. Nothing new has entered it. Second, find the next action. Ask if there's something I can actually do about this right now. Not eventually, right now. Send the message you've been drafting. Make the appointment you've been putting off. Write the first sentence of the thing you've been avoiding. Pick the option and commit to it. If an action exists, the answer is always to reduce thinking and take it. The loop exists partly because the door hasn't been walked through yet. Third, accept the gap. If no action is currently available, if the situation genuinely requires waiting, or the other person needs to respond, or the outcome isn't yours to control, then the work is different. The work is leaving the question unanswered. Not forever, just for now. This is harder than it sounds, but it's also the actual skill. Stopping overthinking doesn't mean reaching certainty. It means becoming better at functioning without it. Here's what this looks like in practice. You send someone an important message. They don't reply. The old loop, check the phone. Analyze the wording, generate explanations, check again, replay the previous conversation, predict the worst, check again. The new response, notice the loop, ask if there's an action available, you've already sent the message, there's nothing more to do right now, put the phone down, return to something you can actually affect. The uncertainty is still there, the question is still unanswered, but the loop doesn't have to run just because the uncertainty is open. Let's come back to where we started. It's late, the conversation is still over, the message may still be unanswered, the decision may still carry risk. Nothing outside your head has necessarily changed, but you now understand something worth holding on to. The brain was never doing this to hurt you. It was scanning for danger, flagging unfinished things, delaying commitment, running from discomfort. All of it felt like thinking. None of it was solving anything. The goal was never to become someone who doesn't overthink. The goal is to recognize the exact moment when thinking stops being useful and choose not to follow it further. You don't need certainty before you move. You need enough to take the next step and enough tolerance for whatever remains unanswered. Peace doesn't always arrive when you finally find the answer. Sometimes it arrives when you stop needing one tonight. The brain will offer another thought. It always does. You just don't have to treat every thought like a problem waiting to be solved. What does your brain tend to overthink most? Things in the past? Decisions you haven't made yet? Or what other people think of you? Drop it in the comments. And if you want to understand why your brain does what it does and how to stop letting it run your life, subscribe. That's what this channel is about.